Welcome, boys and girls. I am Renita Dindial. Today, we will be looking at a very sensitive grammatical concept which will require your undivided attention. So I will suggest that you stop whatever else you're doing, grab your notebooks and a pen, and give me your undivided attention. Our topic for today is gerund and gerund phrases. A gerund is a verbal that uses the ing participle of a verb but acts as a noun in a sentence. Now you may be asking, what is a verbal? By simply looking at the word, you will get a clue. Verb, verbal. Following? Yes. A verbal is a word or words which function as a verb. We said a gerund is a verbal that uses the ing participle of a verb but acts as a noun in a sentence. Here's an example. Rutherford's batting has not improved this year. Note, because a gerund is a noun, it requires a possessive noun or pronoun before it. In this example, Rutherford's batting. Batting is the gerund. Do you notice how Rutherford took on the possessive form? Yes, this is precisely what I'm talking about. Now here is another example. Niall Smith's bowling has improved this year. The gerund at work affects the noun that goes before it. Hence, the noun is not Niall Smith, but Niall Smith apostrophe S. What is a gerund phrase? A gerund phrase consists of a gerund and any modifiers or complements the gerund has. The entire phrase is used as a noun. Example, traveling the world is my childhood dream. In this example, traveling the world is used as a thing. Now here is a tip. Writing a gerund phrase requires you to think of a verb as a thing and not as the action that is being done in the sentence. So basically, a gerund phrase is about an action and not the actual action. Examples of gerund phrases. Reading folk tales is my favorite activity. Hiking through the mountains is my favorite adventure. The gerund phrase in each of these sentences begin the sentence. Let's look at the sentences again. Reading folk tales is my favorite activity. What is my favorite activity? Reading folk tales. What is my favorite adventure? As seen in the second example, hiking through the mountains is my favorite adventure. Now, how to be sure you are using the gerund? Since a gerund is a noun, replacing it with a pronoun should work easily when you're seeking clarity. And we just did in the last two examples. Here are some different examples. Teaching for television is a skill I am learning. Let us now replace the gerund with a pronoun or a noun. What am I learning? I am trying to learn teaching. In this case, we see that the word teaching functions as the gerund in the sentence. The gerund phrase in the sentence will be teaching for television, because for television gives me more details about the kind of teaching I'm trying to learn. Here is another example. Something is a skill I am learning. In this example, I have replaced teaching and teaching for television. Do you see how the gerund functions here? I am thinking of what I'm trying to learn as a thing and not an action. So teaching becomes something I am trying to learn. And so when I replace teaching and when I replace teaching for television, in this example, I am replacing the gerund and the gerund phrase respectively. Let us have some fun using the gerund. The gerund has 5 different functions. One of the first functions of the gerund is as a subject. The gerund as a subject in a sentence is in this example. The sudden shattering of glass broke the silence. What broke the silence? Something broke the silence. Remember, that is how we said we will identify the gerund by replacing it with something. Yeah. What broke the silence? Something. And that something is the shattering of glass. Here we see the gerund phrase shattering of glass being the subject of the verb broke. The object in the sentence is the word silence. The gerund functioning as a predicate nominative, meaning that the gerund explains the subject. Example: one of my chores in the summer is cleaning the yard. The gerund phrase cleaning the yard explains the subject one. Remember, the gerund is an action word being used as a noun. The third function of the gerund phrase, as a direct object. Sam enjoys hiking through the mountains occasionally. In this example, the gerund hiking through the mountains occasionally is the direct object of the verb enjoys. The adverb phrase in the mountains and the adverb occasionally modify the gerund hiking. Remember, the function of the gerund phrase depends on the position of the gerund in the sentence. Writing a gerund phrase requires you to think of a verb as a thing and not as an action being done in the sentence. So basically, a gerund phrase is about an action and not the actual action. Moving on, the function of a gerund phrase as an indirect object. Look at this sentence. Mr. Samuels, a part-time lawyer for the company, is giving working full-time careful thought. Here we see the gerund phrase working full-time careful thought is the indirect object of the verb is giving. The adverb full-time modifies the gerund working. And finally, the gerund phrase functioning as object of a preposition. Look at this sentence. By reading the works of Derek Walcott, I have learned much about Caribbean culture. In this sentence, the gerund phrase reading the works of Derek Walcott is the object of the preposition by. Remember, one sure way to tell if you are working with a gerund phrase is to replace the phrase with the word something in the sentence. Now let's practice. I want you to take your notebooks and begin to write. You are to write each sentence and carefully examine them. You're going to identify the gerund or the gerund phrase in the sentence and underline these when you have found them. The first sentence I want you to write is, preparing for the inter-school sports took more time than I thought it would. Preparing for the inter-school sports took more time than I thought it would. Now identify the gerund or gerund phrase in the sentence. This is my sentence. Preparing for the inter-school sports is the phrase that I have underlined. Have you underlined the same phrase? If you have, then you have successfully identified the gerund phrase in this sentence. Let's do another one. Eating small meals throughout the day can help you avoid hunger pains. Now identify the gerund phrase in this sentence. I have underlined eating small meals throughout the day. If you have this, then once again you are correct. You have successfully identified the gerund phrase in this sentence as well. Give yourselves a pat on the shoulder. Here's the third one. A danger to motorists is driving under the influence. Your time is up. A danger to motorists is driving under the influence. If you have underlined driving under the influence, then you have successfully identified the gerund phrase in this sentence. The fish was swimming in the lake. Is there a gerund phrase here? The fish was swimming in the lake. There is no gerund or gerund phrases in this sentence. Why? Because swimming is part of the verb in this sentence. The complete verb in this sentence is was swimming. Remember, we said that the gerund begins with the ing form of the verb. However, it acts as a noun. Alright? In this sentence, we are seeing swimming is the verb. Good job. Let's move on. My dog enjoys barking at strangers. Write this sentence and identify the gerund within. My dog enjoys barking at strangers. If you have underlined barking at strangers, you have successfully identified the gerund phrase in this sentence. I am so proud of you today. I need you to go on because we have one more sentence to work on. Riding my bicycle around the village is my favorite hobby. Riding my bicycle around the village is my favorite hobby. Take some time, write this sentence, and underline the gerund phrase within the sentence. Alright, if you have underlined riding my bicycle around the village, you have successfully identified the gerund phrase within this sentence. Now, boys and girls, I know identifying the gerund and the gerund phrases may have seemed trickier at the beginning, but do you now see how easy it can be? Yes. Once we remember that a gerund is a verbal that uses the ing participle of a verb but acts as a noun in a sentence, we will not find it difficult. Now that's it for gerund and gerund phrases today, boys and girls. I hope you had fun. Do join us again next time. I am Renita Dindial saying goodbye.